Good day everyone, my name is Alfredo T. Jr. from BSINT second year level, and I'm here right now to report about air pollution and climate change. What is air pollution? Air pollution refers to any physical, chemical, or biological change in the air. It is the contamination of air by harmful gases, dust, and smoke, which affect plants, animals, and humans drastically. There is a certain percentage of gases present in the atmosphere. An increase or decrease in the composition of these gases is harmful to survival. This is an imbalance in gaseous compositions has resulted in an increase in the earth temperature, which is known as global warming. There are two types of air pollutants, the primary pollutants and the secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants, the pollutants that directly cause air pollution are known as a primary pollutants. Sulfur dioxide emanated from the factories in a primary pollutants. For example, are sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxides, and volatile organic compounds. The secondary pollutants. The pollutants formed by the intermingling and reaction of primary pollutants are known as a secondary pollutants. Smog, formed by the intermingling of smoke and fog. It is a secondary pollutant. Cause of air pollution: burning of fossil fuels. The combustion of fossil fuels emits a large amount of sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide released by incomplete combustion of fossil fuels are results in air pollution. Automobiles. The gases as emitted from vehicles such as jeep, truck, cars, buses, etc. pollute the environment. These are the major sources of the greenhouse gases and also result in a disease among individuals. Agricultural activities. Ammonia is one of the most hazardous gases emitted during the agricultural activities. The insecticides, pesticides, and fertilizers emit harmful chemicals in the atmosphere and contaminate it. Factories and industries. Factories and industries are the main source of carbon monoxide, organic compounds, hydrocarbons, and chemicals. They are released into the air, degrading its quality. Mining activities. In the mining process, the minerals below the earth and extract using large pieces of equipment. The dust and the chemicals released during the process not only pollute the air, but also deteriorate the health of the workers and people living in that nearby areas. And and domestic sources, the household, and the next one is the domestic sources. The household cleaning products and paints contain toxic chemicals that are released in the air. Is the smell of the painted walls in the smell when the chemicals present in the paints is not only pollutes the air but also affects the breathing. Effects of air pollution. The hazard effects of air pollution on the environment includes disease, global warming, acid rain, ozone layer, depletion, and effects on animals. Climate change. Again, the next topic is about climate change. So what is climate change? So what is climate change again? Climate change describes a change in the average conditions such as temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. Climate change describes a change in the average conditions such as temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. For example, 20,000 years ago, much of the United States was covered in glaciers. In the United States today, we have a warmer climate and fewer geysers. Global climate change refers to the average long-term change over the entire Earth. This includes warming temperatures and change in the precipitation as well as the effects of the earth warming such as rising sea levels, shrink mountain glaciers, ice melting at a faster rate than usual in the Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic. Change in the flower and the plants blooming times. And the next one is the cause of the climate change. What is the cause of the climate change? Solar variability. The luminosity or brightness of the sun has been increasing steadily since its formation. Radiating energy from the sun is a variable at very small timescales owing to solar storm and other disturbance. But the variation in the solar activity, particularly the frequency and the sunspots, are also documented at the decadal to the millennial timescales and probably occur the longer timescale as well. Sorry. Volcanic activity. This is one of the cause of the climate change also. The volcanic activity can influence climate in the number of ways and different timescales. Individual volcanic eruption can release large quantities of sulfur dioxide and other aerosols into the stratosphere, reducing atmospheric transparency and thus the amount of the solar radiating reaching the Earth's surface and troposphere. And the next one is tectonic activity. Tectonic movements on Earth crust have profound effects on the climate and the timescales of millions to tens of millions of years. There is a movement have changed the shape, the size, the position of elevation of the continental masses as well as the bathymetry of the ocean. Topographic and bathymetric change in the turn have strong effects on the circulation of both the atmosphere and the oceans. The next one is the green gases. Green gases are gas molecules that have the property of absorbing infrared radiation or net heat energy emitted from Earth's surface and radiating in the back of the Earth's surface. This contributing to the phenomenon known as a greenhouse effects. Carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor are the most important greenhouse gases. And they have a profound effect in the energy budget on the Earth system, despite of making up only a fraction of all atmospheric gases. And the next one is the human activities. Recognition of all of global climate change as the environmental issues has drawn attention to the climate impact of human activities. Most of this attention has focused on the carbon dioxide emission via fossil fuel combustion and deforestation. Human activities has also yielded release of the other greenhouse gases such as methane from rice cultivation, livestock, landfills, and other sources, and chlorofluorocarbons from industrial sources. There is a little doubt among climatologists that these greenhouse gases affect the radiation budget of Earth. The nature and magnitude of the climate's response are the subject of the instant research activity. And the next, people are experiencing climate change in diverse way. Climate change can affect our health, ability to grow food, housing, safety, and work. Some of us are already more vulnerable to climate impacts, such as a people living in a small island of nations and the developing countries. Conditions like sea level rise and saltwater intrusion have advanced to the point where whole communities have had to relocate and protracted droughts and putting people at risk of famine in the future. The number of climate refuge is expected to rise. Main threats of climate change. The main threats of climate change stemming from the rising temperature of Earth, atmosphere include rising sea levels, ecosystem collapse, and more frequent and severe weather. And next, rising temperature from human-caused greenhouse gases emission affects planet-wide system in a various ways. How is climate change affect animals? Again, the next one is how is climate change affect animals? Changing climates direct and indirect cause stress to animals across the world. Many species are approaching or have already reached the limit of where they can go find hospitable climates. In the polar regions, animals like polar bears that live on the polar ice are now struggling to survive as the ice melt. How is a climate change affect people? Affect us? The straining agricultural system to making regions less habitable. Climate change is affecting people everywhere. You may have noticed how weather patterns near you are shifting on or how more frequent and severe storms are developing in the spring. Maybe your community is experiencing more severe floodings or wildfires. And the next one is how is climate change affect the oceans? Warming oceans temperatures are melting polar ice shifting ocean currents and fish migration and leading to coral bleaching and die-off because of ocean important role in regulating Earth climate by absorbing greenhouse gases emission they are taking direct hit from the climate change. Does deforestation contribute to climate change? Yes. Forests are one of the most important types of natural carbon storage. So when we forests get cut down, they lose their ability to store the greenhouse gases. Burning trees release even more carbon into atmosphere. Forests are some of the best natural climate solution we have on this planet. If we can slow or stop deforestation and manage natural land so that it is healthy, we could achieve up to one third of emission reduction needed by 2030 here to keep global temperature from rising more than 2 Celsius or 3.6 Celsius degree. And the next one is, what are the solution to climate change? In order to avoid worst impact of climate change, the intergovernmental panel of the climate change, which is IPCC, says we must reduce carbon emission to the point we hold global warming to no more than additional 1.5 degrees Celsius. Uh, to do that, we must, as a planet, commit ourselves to reaching net zero carbon emission by 2050 years. And the next one is this is no small feat and will require a range of solutions applied together to reach the goal. We will need to transition all sectors of our economy away from fossil fuels that emit carbon. Increase our use of clean energy sources like wind and solar. Harness the power of nature to capture carbon and deploy technologies that captures the stores carbon. This transition will happen much faster and more cost effectively if governments enact an economy wide price on carbon. So, that will all my report, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.
What is ozone depletion? Ozone depletion means reduction of ozone layer in stratosphere. It is measured in terms of level of total ozone column above the point of Earth's surface. The depletion of ozone is observed using instrument called Total Ozone Mapping Spectrometer or TOMS. It is expressed in Dobson unit abbreviated as DU. Depletion, how it occurs. Ozone depletion mainly occurs by chlorine oxide, chlorofluorocarbon, nitrogen oxide, bromine, chlorofluorochloride, and electromagnetic radiation. That is common notation to indicate that these species have an unpaired electron and thus are extremely reactive. Chlorine depletion cycle. Reaction of ozone with chlorine. The chlorine atom changes on ozone molecule to ordinary oxygen. Reaction of ozone with chlorine oxide. The chlorine oxide from previous reaction destroys a second ozone molecule and recreates the original chlorine can repeat the first reaction and continue to destroy ozone. Sources of chlorine and ozone depletion. Ways of depletion, chlorofluorocarbon depletion. First is air conditioners and refrigerator causes ozone depletion. They give out chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbons are also used in extinguisher and in spray cans. Chlorofluorocarbons cause depletion especially in cold climate. Chlorofluorocarbons remain in atmosphere for decades. Ways of depletion, nitrogen oxide and bromine. Nitrogen oxide and bromine get released in atmosphere by industries, furnaces, and many other human activities. Nowadays, the levels of nitrogen oxide, bromine are increased. Nitrogen oxide and bromine convert ozone into ordinary oxygen. Ways of depletion, chlorofluorochloride and electromagnetic radiation, reaction of chlorofluorochloride and electromagnetic radiation. Now this released chlorine will continue its depletion cycle and lead to more depletion. Effects of UV. They cause graft failure, they cause skin cancer, they can go directly through water ending up all aquatic life. UV rays can cause more sunburn. They can damage our eyes and can increase in people becoming blind. Effects of UV. They harm all living world. Effect of ozone depletion. Due to ozone depletion harmful, UV rays such as UVB radiation reach to Earth, which leads to harmful effects on animals, plants, aquatic life as well as on human also. Effect on aquatic system. Effects phytoplankton fish, larval crabs, decrease in amount of plankton, increase the carbon oxide in atmosphere which contribute the global warming. Effect on materials, degradation of plants and plastic. Effect on climate, global warming increasing the average temperature of the Earth's surface. Ozone depletion. Ozone depletion describes two phenomena: a steady decline of about 4% per decade in the total volume of ozone in Earth's stratosphere, the ozone hole. Catalytic destruction of ozone is by atomic halogens. The major source of these halogens atom is refrigerants, solvents, repellents, and foam-blowing agent or chlorofluorocarbons, bromofluorocarbons, and halogens. Chlorofluorocarbons and other contributory substances are referred to as ozone depletion substances. Consequences of ozone depletion: increased UV, effects of non-human animals, effect on human health, crop production is affected.